Saved by the bell. I thought you wasn't coming.
Hey, yeah, I had to get adjusted. How is everything, Donnie?
My man, 500 grand. I'm good. Where are you?
Oh, I have the background, but you know I teach all the time. So I just have one of my classes in the background, one of the classes that I was teaching.
What are you teaching, Mike?
Oh man, I teach how to start a nonprofit, how to get funded, how to do federal procurement, you name it, strategic plan, business plan. I do a lot of things related to our training. In fact, that's all we do is training. And when I say we, I got 5 employees. One is me, and the other four is artificial intelligence.
Do
I got
tell.
artificial intelligence doing my sales, artificial intelligence doing my public relationship, doing my social media, you name it. It's like you can be a one-man show, and artificial intelligence will do the rest.
Wow. How did that come about?
I'm a nerd for real, right? You know, a nerd from the streets. So I'm always tackling and playing with things. And when artificial intelligence came into play in about 2020, no, 2019, I started to play with it like that. And then I came up with and every year they're doing amazing things with that artificial intelligence. As a matter of fact, if you use artificial intelligence, you probably can reduce your staff down. And artificial intelligence will do the rest. If you call me on the phone, artificial intelligence is going to take care of that. So you
Oh,
name it. If I do a piece, Daddy, right? If I do a PowerPoint presentation and I do it, put content in it, and if I put it in artificial intelligence, man, that thing come back professional. Even though it's got the same contents, but the display and everything is totally different.
Mike, take me to the topic, if you will, of education. How important is the village in the education of our children?
I think that education is so important. That's why they try to deny us education. And that's what young people don't understand. They didn't want us to get education because they knew it would put us on the same plane as them. And what did we do when we got education? Oh man, we went way beyond. So education is the key to life. And you have to ask yourself, why did they try so hard to keep us from it? There's a saying that if you want to keep a black man from knowing something, put a book in front of him.
They say hide it in a book.
So if we put a book in front of him, that man will run away from it, unfortunately. But yeah, education is everything. Without education, it's like we left way under. So when
Some
it
of us,
comes to life, what I tell young
I don't know
people,
about that, Mike. I don't know about that. Some of us did have always embraced education, and but the saying, you see, you twisted the saying. You said put a book in front of them. A lot of us want to read. The
no, but
saying,
that's an old saying way back then. I think
hold
Malcolm
tight,
X was
Mike.
saying that. Somebody
Michael,
great was saying it.
Michael, Michael. The saying is, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. That's the saying. So you kind of put a twist on it.
Yeah, I did. There you go. Thanks for correcting that.
Okay, so
Look, Danny, I haven't had my coffee yet, so blame it on the coffee.
okay, well, a lot of us do want to learn. A lot of us do, even this new technology. You, for instance, learning this AI and applying it to your business, to your classes.
Yeah.
Education is right in it. And
Yeah.
education with this digital world is fast. The stuff you're learning, I don't know that they have classes. As the AI is developing and forming, I don't know that they can form classes fast enough to keep you up. So a lot of times you have to educate yourself.
True. True.
What
True.
schools
As a
did you
matter of
go to,
fact,
Mike?
one of the workshops I give is artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and Web3 in the Black community, especially low-income communities. How can that be applied to low-income communities to bring us up to where we need to be at? And you'd be astonished on what that course is going, not the course, but the workshop is going to talk about.
What schools did you go to, Mike?
Well, I went to University of Baltimore. I went to University of Maryland for a minute, and then FAMU here in Tampa.
And what about public schools?
I went to 181, if you remember that, on Baker and
Calhoun Baker
Baker
Street.
and something. Yeah, Baker. I went to 104. Got kicked out. Then I went over to the east side, um, where I studied for a second. Then I got kicked out of that. Then eventually I led me back to North Avenue Youth Service on North and Pennsylvania Avenue. That big building there on North. I think it's a Tickle building,
Tickner.
but it used to be the Youth Service Center. That's what saved my life. I got to meet so many awesome people who showed me what life looks like if I kept on going in the route that I was taking. That's what changed my whole life and put it in a different perspective.
I have a question for you, Mike. What did you think when you saw the Freddie Gray unrest unfold?
Oh man, I first of all, it hurt my heart. Secondly, it hurt my heart that the city was burning down in a sense, right? And thirdly, it hurt my heart after that because the Mosley, she got, because of what she did, they tried to get her because of Freddie Gray. But the story of Freddie Gray is a story of the whole United States. Go to any city, and you're going to find a similar story of someone that was assassinated by the police.
Have you seen?
But Freddie Gray reminds us that we do have power also. But because of Freddie Gray, so many different things happened. Just like when Floyd passed away, when he died. And it's so unfortunate that people have to die in order for us to get recognition of the wrong that we did.
You said earlier this week that you reported the violence that you have been seeing in Tampa. Tell me about that.
Oh man, it's as I stated during that conversation, when I first got to Tampa in 2000, there was no helicopter flying over my house, which was new. There was no gunshots, which was new. Fast forward now, that's all you hear is gunshots. That's all you hear is helicopters flying. Every day, or this is about every other day, you hear about somebody getting killed now. That used to be something that was somebody else's problem. And now it's Tampa problem. There was a 14-year-old that was recently killed. I'm working with the mother to start a nonprofit so that she can make sure her son is never forgotten. But the violence level in Tampa and Florida in general has gone way, because you can't hide it. I mean, as much as they tried to, the fact of the matter, it was coming to them. And in Tampa now, and if you look at it, some places in Tampa, like especially where I'm working at, one of the groups I'm working with in West Tampa, that area has a higher rate of violence. But the whole Tampa's now becoming violent. It's not like it used to be. But surprisingly enough, so is racism going up now.
What's it stemming?
It's more open.
What's causing the violence?
A couple of things. First, they put so many guns and drugs in our community. People don't have hope. They don't have jobs. So all those things is a mixer of why people do what they do. Also, there's the issue of mental health. It's a large reason why people do what they do. And we know that substance abuse is a reason why people do what they do, either because they're using it or they're selling it. Those are the two major reasons for crime throughout the United States, both mental health and substance abuse. They play a key role in that particular reason why we have a community like we have today.
Let me ask you this. What about gambling? Do you have gambling in Florida?
Oh man, yeah, they do. All over the. I don't, but yeah, you have gambling all over the place, man.
Casinos.
They have, what is the High Rock? The High Rock buffet. I think they call it the High Rock something, where people go to gambling. I think you can even go online and gamble.
Yeah, I remember when they were pushing sports, well, they're pushing sports betting here in the state of Maryland, and it's scary, Mike, when you see what gambling can do. This program here, New Life Recovery, that is one of the things that they provide treatment for is gambling. Did you grow up seeing gambling?
Well, the streets, dice, and things of that nature, that was the extent of gambling. And also lottery, not lottery, but when you play the numbers and everything. Of course, when I grew up, that was it wasn't a lottery; it was numbers.
Yeah.
And we had houses in my block that I grew up in College Street, where they was actually do the numbers and gamble and all like that. So
Have you
it's
seen?
always been there. It's just now they making money off of it.
Yeah, the same with the medical, or the cannabis, including
Yeah.
medical marijuana.
Yeah, unfortunately, they put us all in jail, and now they want to make it legal throughout the United States after so many people have been housed and in prison for because of marijuana. And when marijuana started, not because it was a drug, it started because some rich person felt that it was going to interfere with their product. I forgot the guy name who really pushed that, because now people were using camp to do something, and he didn't like that, so he made it a crime.
Let me shift gears for a second, Michael. Do you remember that they took prayer out of schools? Do you remember when that happened? There's a bumper sticker that I've seen over the years that says they took prayer out of the schools and now the prisons are filled. This country, as I've often shared, represents 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the incarcerated persons. It's us. It's black men in these prisons, Mike. We star in that movie. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first, let me just correct you. Now it's not only black men, but it's black females
Oh, black women are the fastest
that
growing
is
demographic.
accelerating at a higher rate.
Yes.
Black females. When you look at the murder rate among black females, 125% higher than other people.
Where you be getting these numbers from, Michael?
Department of Justice, NAACP. I do the research because I believe in being factual. When you say something, back it up with the facts. In fact, I was surprised when they had that 125% rate among young black females. That threw me for a twist.
Yeah, it was brought to my attention that the young man who is running for president, Donald Trump, said that he loves the uneducated. I never.
Of course.
How
you know why?
Please, I'd love to hear your thought.
I think he loved the uneducated because they are the ones that's so blinded with facts. They go off of emotions and not facts. For example, one of the things I do here in Florida is to teach critical thinking. A lot of people don't even know how to be a critical thinker, and that's why they go for anything. And also in part because those uneducated are the most racist also. A lot of those uneducated people he talking about are white. They're uneducated. They believe that they're superior to everybody else. Well, especially the blacks.
Let me tell you how the community is changing. Your old community, Sandtown. When I came outside this morning, about 7:30 or so, there was a white guy sitting across the street on the steps. He was up to no good. And I just thought to myself how in 2024, what this reality looks like. But say back in 2000, when you lived here, you would have never seen that. And I'm not promoting segregation. I'm just talking the reality of Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the most, if not the most segregated city in America, going back to 1910 and the ordinance by Mayor J. Barry Mahou, which said that blacks couldn't move into white neighborhoods and whites couldn't move into black neighborhoods. Michael, there was a story I did over a year ago about Hose Heights. It's a historic black community adjacent to Roland Park. And that's where the first ordinance came from, which prevented blacks from moving into white neighborhoods and vice versa. And it baffles me, Mike, how racism is at the core of so many issues in this country. I watched this one video on social media. It was a white lady teacher. She had one black kid in her class. And as the kids were coming in the door, she gave everybody a hug, but the young black kid.
I saw that.
They then posed for a picture. And a little white girl, she said, stop the tape. She went, the little boy was hiding behind another kid, a taller kid. She went and brought that kid from the back all the way to the front. She and the other little white girl hugged the kid, embraced him, welcomed him. Mike, that so touched my heart, man, that little girl, and I salute that young lady. I salute that little white girl. And it's a shame that we are complicated with race when it comes, even having to mention this as it relates to children. Children should be totally off limits, but we know that there are parents who teach racism and hatred to their children. But I thank God for whoever's raising that little girl. She had more wisdom in her 5, 6, 7, 8 years than that teacher, who was clearly a grown woman and a despicable human being. What'd you think when you saw it?
Man, that hurt it. But it also brought me to the reality that I don't know when that was done, but I know it still exists today. So that hurt it, to know that because of my color, because of my race, not who I'm in, but because of my race, because you don't even know me, but just because of the way I'm looked down upon. And I know that hurted that little kid. It has some psychological impact. But God is good.
God is awesome.
And God shined that particular day to show his will will be done. That's what I saw in that right there. God's will was definitely done. And even in the darkest of places, that's when God come in and show the light. Even when we think it's impossible, that's when God come in to save us. Look at slavery. God showed the light. We made it through slavery. We're not even supposed to be here as a people. But yet every time you knock us down, we get back up.
We are very resilient people. I don't know that we give ourselves enough credit. I think to myself, when I hear people talking about what Black people aren't doing, what we haven't accomplished, Mike, we're only 15% of the world, of this country's population. And when I consider those numbers, 15%, I think we as a people have done some phenomenal things in every possible industry. Of course, sports and music, but those things aside, earlier today we interviewed an electrical engineer, a woman, a doctor.
I saw that, right.
Dr. Maria Thorpe. We've persevered, and I forgot to ask her about the movie, what she thought of Hidden Figures, but we've persevered in every possible discipline, from astronomy to medicine to law. You think of Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall out of your hometown, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Despite being 15% of the population, we have made some phenomenal strides, and we should pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah. And it's not surprising when you look at where did life start? They show it started back in Africa. But here's what the sad thing is. Africa can be attributed to so many things that's in society today that we blame other people for, like the Greeks. Like the Greeks did all that, but the fact of the matter is they learned that from Africa. So many times, So many good things are happening, but they do not want to talk about Black people and
You
how we
know,
contributed to that. I say
when
we're God's chosen one.
when I think of Africa being the mother of humanity, the breadbasket to the world, Africa is still providing natural resources
Yes.
that the world benefits from. I pray that one day we will see more progress in the 54 African nations. And I pray also that more of us will go to Africa. I was so grateful for my ex-wife making sure that my daughter got to visit her grandma who moved to Africa, straight out of New Jersey. She moved to Africa and my daughter went to visit her. And I didn't get to go shucks till I was well into my 30s, but it's just a beautiful thing when you can get to go abroad. Have you done any traveling?
Haven't been to Africa. That's on my wish list. But I do know this, that changes are coming, especially to Africa. This so-called what is it called? Decentralized of the Web3 with tokens, with Bitcoin. That's changing the whole narrative when it comes to Africa, because America has always been centralized bank, and they control everything. They wouldn't put money in your country unless you did A, B, C, and D. All that's changing, man. All that's changing. I hope one day, who's that gentleman that created STEM City?
Oh, Dr. Taborn.
Yeah, I hope Dr. Tabor can talk about how that's going to lead to the different narrative when it comes to Africa. Africa can create its own currency now and be competitive. Do you know what would happen if Africa closed just for one day? The whole world will close down because we depend, for example, on this technology that we have, we depend on Africa for all that. That's how important Africa is.
A lot of us don't know this, but that's one of the things that Muammar Gaddafi was working on,
Yeah,
a single currency for the entire continent of Africa, and he got
and they
killed.
killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that now that's a possibility. With this new technology on Web3, it's a possibility. That's one of the questions I will pose to the gentleman with STEM City. How does he see that in the future, and how long would that take to materialize? And what does that do now for Africa now that they can create their own currency? And instead of them taking a, a penny on every dollar, now they can take 99 cents on every dollar. And what that does to deal with poverty and those other things in Africa to change the whole narrative.
Mike,
So I'm excited about that.
are you ready for your own show on this network?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready, man.
You are?
Definitely. But my show would, if I did get a show, would all be about community development and changing the narrative in the most poverty-stricken neighborhoods. And what are people around the country doing to change that narrative? You'd be excited to hear what people are doing around the country to change that narrative when it comes to community development. That's my major focus as a I call myself an entrepreneur is
You
to
are
change
an
the
entrepreneur.
narrative.
You are.
Yeah, I know, but I like to just call myself a social activist, although I'm an entrepreneur at the same time. But I like to take social activist first and then put the entrepreneur behind it, because that means I'm always going to keep it real when it comes to what do we do in our most poorest neighborhoods? How do we change that narrative to make it different? And to have people come on from around the country to talk about what they're doing, and more importantly, how can we collaborate nationally to make it a national thing, that where so your cities that don't have that much can be uplifted with the collective as a whole.
So that sounds wonderful. We have to work to get you. What day of the week? We have to talk about this offline, but What would you
My
name it?
my only day of the week that's not good is Thursday because I'm always at City Hall Thursday advocating.
That's beautiful.
Because
Mike,
I
tell me
think
about.
politics is important. People don't understand the we are so dumbfounded when we say I'm not voting because my vote don't count. Your vote don't count because you're not voting, fool. And you don't even have to vote for anybody. You can just go and just pull the ballot down and say you're voting for Donald Duck. It's the number that kills white people. And if they see us coming out in large numbers and consistently, that's how we do changes in our society. And the fact that people say I'm not voting because, my vote don't count, you just don't understand. That's why Donald got in office. That's why and here in the state of Florida, that's why the governor was elected. It shouldn't have been a Republican here in Florida, but people don't come out to vote. And then they cry at the end about what happened. And
So,
that's the other thing that show we're talking about. Politics and the importance of politics and getting people out to change the narratives, because politics covers everything.
yeah.
From the glasses to the clothes you wear, to the shoes you wear, to the food you eat, everything is controlled by politics. And if you vote somebody in, I say to folks, and that person don't do what they supposed to do, attend those city council meetings every week. Scream at him every week. And guess what? Politicians will start to think differently because they think they can get voted in and it's quiet. But if every time you go in those large numbers and let that politician know, hey, you didn't do right, then that's going to change the narrative and make politicians act like they're supposed to act. But we have to take the initiative to say that change come only through action. It doesn't come unless we create action. And politics does that. That's why I'm at that city hall meeting every week to talk about what we need and what we want. In fact, if I'm this one meeting, the city council said, "Where Mike?" And I tell people that's how you be consistent, because they know you're going to show up. They know you're going to show up, and they're going to teach you in a totally different way. Because we got the power, because we got the numbers.
Mike, what is your phone number?
813
813
857
857
7654. I mean, 7657. 813 857 7657. This is what happened when you don't have your coffee.
Tell me what the CNCD stands for.
That's Center for Nonprofit and Community Development.
And when did you started it? You founded it?
Yeah, I started in 2011. And since that time, we've been able to provide training, all different type of training to over 3,500 nonprofits, faith-based groups, businesses, and individuals from around the country. In addition to that, we work with over 300 nonprofits to get started to do their paperwork. What we teach nonprofits is the one thing about nonprofits, they beg too much. We teach nonprofits how to use a business model in order to operate to make them sustainable throughout their history, instead of depending upon grants as it means. When people come to my class and they say to me, "I'm coming to your class to learn how to write a grant," I say, "You on crack cocaine," because that's what grants are. You come into my class to learn how you can use the seed money from grants to build your own business. For us, for example, 1% of our funds come from grants. 99% come from training. Be it how to do a nonprofit, how to do a grant, how to do federal procurement, you name it, the whole line. We provide for 15 different types of training programs. So grants don't do it. We're able to sustain ourselves simply by providing training. Every nonprofit should think about how can they change the narrative. For example, if you're dealing with young people, You should say, well, how can we create a store where young people can sell T-shirts? How can we create a restaurant where young people can learn in that restaurant at the same time bring money into the organization? My thing, if everybody's listening to me, stop going for grants as a way to survival and use grants as the seed money to create your own business.
Mike, I had a question for you. You live, help me to understand Tampa. What part of Tampa do you live in?
I live in what's near the East Tampa. I live in East Tampa. That's one of the largest areas in Tampa is East Tampa. Inside of Hillsborough County, which is the county, which is probably the 7th largest county in the nation.
What's the name of it?
Hillsborough County.
Hillsborough. And what community
Now, unfortunately, Hillsborough County as a whole, they do some very racist things. But Tampa in itself, Tampa is a very progressive city. A very progressive city. You'll be surprised. It's like day and night if you come to Tampa and then you go to the rest of part of the Florida, the good old boy club.
How is it different?
Well, first of all, racism still exists in those places. Look at the governor. The governor reflects those cities I'm talking about that's not in Tampa. For example, in Tampa right now, they're about to do what's known as reparation. They're about to start dealing with it. I know it's unheard of, but that's how progressive Tampa is, right? Here in the South. And they want to do reparation and start to talk about what wrong have we done and how can we straighten that out. My concern is, although it's going through the city, my concern is that when the governor gets whip of it, he's going to come in and change that. There used to be, for example, a citizen advisory board when it comes to the police department to keep them in check. The governor just passed a law that nobody can oversee the police. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about racism. Definitely. They taking money away from education. The monies that used to go into education, they taking them away. They're focused now not on public schools, but private schools.
Is the mayor of Tampa a Democrat or Republican?
She is. She's a mayor.
She's a Democrat?
In fact, all the city council is Democrats. So Democrats is and Tampa is majority rule. That is majority of people in Tampa is Democrats. And they are what you call it, not moderate, but liberals. You see, not just moderate, but these are liberals. Liberals politicians that's here in Tampa. That's why I'm so happy to live here. Wouldn't be no place else in Florida other than Tampa. And the Tampa Bay area, the whole Tampa Bay area is more or less consists of Democrats that's focused on changing the narrative and giving Black people high positions in their administration.
So but, like this,
you know, we got summer all year long. That's one thing I like about Florida. You know, and when y'all getting snow and all like that in Tampa, we got like 80 degrees outside. And I always think about Baltimore, especially in the wintertime. And I come out and I'm wearing a t-shirt, you know, as opposed to having a coat on. I remember when I flew back to Baltimore a couple times, I forgot. And I had to go in and get some winter clothes and things of that nature.
Well,
it's like that in Tampa. It's a good. It really is a good place. Good place to be. As a matter of fact, when so I'm working with this West Tampa CDC to show what can be done in the neighborhood with all the more awesome people that's in West Tampa. What we was doing in West Tampa was so good that the Enterprise Foundation found out about what we was doing. And they sent people from Baltimore to come to see what was going on in Tampa. Then they hired me to come back to Tampa in about 2003 as a consultant to work with the people in Sandtown. Unfortunately, what happened was they didn't fund the strategy because my whole strategy was that don't depend on anybody. Create your own table, just like they do in West Tampa. You control the developers come in your community. You control all those things that come in your community to make sure that you at the head of the table. So often, Marginalized community is not head of the table. They participate, but they're not part of the decision-making process, and that scared the heck out of enterprise. I was gonna say another word, but I know that on your show you get penalized for saying that, so I say heck instead of the other word.
So, what community? You said Sandtown. What community in Florida are you in? I thought it was.
Oh man, in Florida, Danny, I'm gonna send you that information. I'm in about 15 different locations in Tampa. Now keep in mind, my model is that most of my business is not face to face, it's all based on virtual. So that means I can go any place in the country that I want to and teach.
No, what neighborhood are you in?
Oh, the neighborhood I'm in is called Rovers Park. That's where I live at. Where I work at is in the West Tampa area.
So where is Overtown? Do you remember Overtown when they came to Sandtown?
That's in Overtown is in Orlando. Yeah, I visited Orlando because one of the things that was good about the Enterprise Foundation, even though they really was about making money and not helping the community in general, but they taught us, they brought in people from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, all over the place. You remember that? What I did, Donnie, I instead of taking that as information, I took that as a means to doing my own thing in the future. They always told me during that time when Mass Smoke was mad. They say, Mike, you're the type of individual that can do your own thing. And why is it important? Because you come from this. You come from one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country, so you've seen it from a different perspective than us. So I thank for that particular research. But I say again, the reason why Enterprise, even though they paid me good, I think I was paid like $200 an hour back in 2003. But at the end of the day, when I started talking about the community control and the enterprises set at the table, that was it for me.
Mike, we want to thank you for joining us. We'll be back on Monday morning, 9 a.m. This show will be back Monday at 12 noon. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for bailing me out. And I will call you.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for being you, man. Look, I lying to you. They lying to you. So many great people came out of Sandtown. So many great people come. It's not where you at, it's where you're going at. Mike, when you know you're a king and you know you're a queen, they can't stop you. They don't want you to know that you're a king and a queen. They want you to think that you're insignificant and you're not. So, Donnie, thank a billion for what you do and your impact, man. I'm so happy about what you're doing. Who would have thought? I remember back there in community building partnership when you was part of the newspaper. You was on the newspaper. Who would have thought that now you're national with what you do? That goes to show if you dream it, you can be it.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie. Until the next time.
If I think better, I do.